right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Canada Day. Today is July 1, and yeah, we got the 4th of July coming up in later this week in the US for some national celebrations. So, yeah, that hopefully will add a celebratory mood as we move forward. Also, celebrating that we are um, starting the second half of this course, which is just amazing to me. So, welcome to Module 5. Today is the first day, and I just wanted to start us off. Just to introduce the module and just kind of I want to do a little activity with some a think aloud that I've been thinking through as we consider teaching strategies and how they translate to our different contexts. So you'll notice in the learning guide, if you've taken a look at that already, that it's a lighter load this week. So I hope you enjoy that. I know that you guys have been working extremely hard and I'm grateful for that. But yeah, we'll just kind of breathe a little bit at this halfway point, and yeah, and then by module 6 we'll start to barrel towards the finish line. So just enjoy. There's just a couple of chapters to read for reading, two shorter writing assignments, and then your longer paper, which is the new teaching strategies paper. So yeah, so a lot of times as we get into things and even throughout the course, I just reflect a lot on the why and why I do what I do in the classroom. In this case, the summer, it's an online environment, which is it's a whole new, it's a whole beast of itself, right? It's something that is quite a bit different from typical classroom practice. But I just started to reflect on the strategies that I've chosen for this course and why I've chosen them for you guys. You are a particular group of students that is very different from the students that you're teaching in your classroom. And I just wanted to kind of make my thinking kind of explicit so you can see kind of the translation work that has to happen, because I realize we're a diverse group of students, which is fantastic. I love it that we're teaching within this class. We're teaching at all different grade levels. We've got about a third of you are like elementary teachers, another roughly third are the middle school, high school level, and then we've got another third, which I will maybe consider like other administrators fit into that category, specials like art teachers, music teachers that teach the K-12 range. We also have 4 MAT students that are teaching in contexts that are very different from a classroom, right? So our MAT folks are teaching in the gym or teaching on the golf course or teaching in a Sunday school room, and then are in the process of anticipating a classroom teaching role that they will have in the future. So we're coming into this course from all different areas, and I think that really adds to the richness of the course. And so I thank you so much for sharing from your own experiences and just being able to contribute. And I hope that as we go along, you're able to take what you're reading in the best practice book, in the classroom instruction that works book, and the strategies that maybe at times are presented very specifically towards specific grade levels or subject areas, and you're able to translate that into the ways that you would use those strategies. So just to kind of give you a model or an example of what that would look like, I'll show you some of the strategies that I've kind of picked out of those texts and translated into the online environment. So we'll start with strategy number 1 from Classroom Instruction That Works, Chapter 1 on page 24. One of those strategies was making personal connections to learning. and getting to know your students. So I did that through the intro video, or the video introduction that you guys did. You talked about your personal lives, so I can get a kind of a sense of where you teach and what you teach, and a little bit about your family and what you're coming into this course with. And also you had the telling the story assignment. Strategy number 2 that I picked out was from chapter 2 of Classroom Instruction That Works, page 29, student goal setting. One of the questions I asked in the video introduction that you guys did was, what do you hope to gain from this course? So already you're at least thinking, what do I want to be my takeaway? What's my goal? And also there's learning objectives in each module. Strategy 3 is visualizations and concrete examples. I grabbed that from chapter 3 in Classroom Instruction That Works. You've seen videos in modules 1, 2, and 3 to show what the 7 instructional structures and whole brain teaching look like in practice. Strategy number 4, high-level questions and student explanation. Again, from Classroom Instruction That Works, chapter 4. Hopefully you've been noticing the questions, the types of questions we ask has been mentioned in both of our texts. And also I think we've seen that in the Palmer text, in the way he's asked questions that have opened up the learning space, and we've discovered the power of questions. So take note of that, the kinds of questions that you're being asked in your discussion board prompts, in the assignment prompts, and also that metacognitive aspect of some of those questions. On page 66 of Classroom Instruction That Works, there's that section about metacognition. In other words, how are you being prompted to think about your thinking, right? So you had a reflection paper last module where you had to think about how you would define teaching, education, community, and so forth in light of what you'd read in Palmer. Also, when you did the instructional strategies analysis, you had to think about your practice and also how you think about those strategies to detect whether any secular philosophies are subtly sneaking in and maybe diverting the path. So strategy number 5, peer-assisted consolidation of learning. Discussion boards, exclamation points beyond that. That is probably the primary way in an online course that we build that community and we bring our ideas together. I would love that there was more diversity. I'm exploring VoiceThread and how to use that more actively. I still haven't figured out a way to use that in a small group discussion, to use VoiceThread as an assessment, but in small groups, which we need in our very, very large course with large enrollment. Okay, also in Zoom meetings, we've been doing that in breakout rooms so you can share and encourage each other and share your ideas. Strategy number 6, targeted support and scaffolded practice. You've seen various assessments, formative assessments along the way, whether they're reflections or discussion boards, to get you thinking about and talking about your ideas that will eventually culminate in our summative assessment at the end, which will be the culmination project. So for instance, the paper that you're doing for the instructional, the new teaching strategy, that in a sense I mentioned last time is a pre-writing activity. Many of you have already mentioned it. You're going to use that strategy that you've explored also in your culminating project. Structured problem solving, again, your culmination project and your new teaching strategies project address a real life kind of problem area, a problem of practice, we call it in the research world, where there's an area that you want to improve, and so you're exploring that. Strategy 8, collaborative activities. We did a community agreement. Best practice chapter 2 on page 59 mentions a class constitution. Basically, that's kind of the same thing. We've just adjusted it to fit our group. All right, so that's linked to every module, so refer to that, and we'll continue to live into that community agreement. Strategy 9, strategic thinking. Hopefully you're seeing some of this along the way. Best practice chapter 2 goes deep into that as one of the structures. One of the specific strategies that you might recognize, maybe, maybe this is a little bit of a reach, but as I'm looking at the into, through, and beyond strategy that's mentioned on page 59, the into, the building the background knowledge, the context. We did that through the video introduction, telling your story, so I could see your prior knowledge coming in. The through, again, those open-ended prompts that address higher order thinking, and then the beyond, applying, right? So you're applying these new strategies that you're learning in your plan for your culmination project and your new teaching strategies paper. And finally, just one more, the strategic thinking structure, again, from best practice. The after reading written conversation strategy that's specifically mentioned on page 55. Again, we're having instructional conversations in our discussion boards and also on Zoom, and just the way you prompt each other's thinking, I think, is building just a really healthy learning environment. So those are some of the strategies that I've grabbed from our texts. A couple of other supplemental texts that I use extensively when I'm teaching online is this book by Flower Darby, A Small Teaching Online, and our favorite, Teaching Redemptively by Donovan Graham. So I know many of you have read that book as well. And so if you want kind of an accompanying text to go along with Palmer that's maybe more explicitly Christian in its focus, I would totally recommend Teaching Redemptively if you haven't read it already. So just to highlight our learning guide, you can see I already mentioned just a couple of chapters to read. Chapter 5 in Classroom Instruction That Works, and also in Best Practice, you have a choice. So you do not have to read all the chapters in from 4 to 7, but pick a chapter that most closely fits with your teaching context. So there's a chapter on mathematics, there's a chapter on social studies, there's a chapter on science, and there's a chapter on writing. So you can choose one that you think would be most helpful. If you want to read more than one, of course, go for it. There will be a discussion forum, just one, where you can upload your new teaching strategy paper. Please do that by Friday so that people can read it and give you some peer feedback. And that way you can use that feedback to polish up and submit your final form for Monday. All right, one last thing you'll notice right underneath the prayer requests and the community agreement, there is a midterm or a mid-session check-in self-assessment form. I would love to get some input from you guys just to see how we're coming along, and we might be at this point asking the question, are we there yet? Hang on, we're going to be racing towards the end beyond this week, but take a little pause. Do some reflecting, do some planning for those future projects, culmination projects, so forth, as we're going to be applying what we've been learning as we move forward together. So my husband and I'll just mention this, are leaving on Saturday. We're heading to Colorado for a couple of weeks. I will have my computer. I will continue teaching this course, but I just wanted to let you know that that's where we'll be. So hopefully the next time you see this welcome video, it will be with the mountains in the background. So, all right, I hope you guys have a fantastic week. Enjoy your national holidays if you're celebrating this week. And yeah, we'll see you along the way. Reach out to me if you have any questions. All right, God bless. Take care.